There's an old saying that says, don't just stand there, do something. And too often people just stand there or talk or converse with each other and complain about going on in the community, when in fact, all of us can do something. All of us can do something to improve the community, physically, economically, socially, academically, educationally, historically, and other kind of lives. So, but there has to be some kind of structure as it relates to generating activities so we can all do something. And let me tell you something that's very important. It's very important that everybody is involved in improving the community. Everybody has a vested interest in improving the community. And the better, there's an old saying that a rising tide raises the whole ship. So as the community gets better and as the community does better, then everybody benefits. I'm happy to report to you today that the Community Foundation of Central Georgia is launching an initiative to give individuals that have input into the community, into what they think about the community, input as it relates to what they think can be done to improve the community. And that initiative is called On the Table. And today we have with us Ms. Julie Woods, who's the vice president, one of them, I guess, of the Community Foundation, who's, we're just going to chat about this event that's coming up on October the 17th and how you can be involved. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Well, I've been at the Community Foundation for about 10 years, and I help people with their charitable giving and supporting nonprofits and organizations that they like. And I consider myself an import to Macon. I came here about 16 years ago, but I just love this community, and I want to do everything I can to help support it and make it better.
Yeah. Now, to talk a little bit about the Community Foundation, its structure and what it does.
Well, the Community Foundation has been around 25 years, and it's a local foundation that enables individuals and families and organizations to create their own charitable fund so that they can accomplish the things that they want to see changed and improved in our community. And so it's a great organization. We get to work with lots of people. We get to be involved in a lot of community projects, and it's a great place to work.
So I guess it works both ways. The Community Foundation is positioned to receive funds,
That's right.
And serve as a vehicle to address some of the issues in the community. So when I give my $1 million, just kidding. But if in fact one has some money and they wanted to impact the community, then the Community Foundation would be the vehicle to donate that money to, or to give that money to, and then give the foundation a specific purpose of what to do with the money.
Right, whatever they're personally interested in. And so we often say that you don't give to the foundation, you give through the Community Foundation.
Right.
And you don't have to be Bill Gates to be philanthropic. There are lots of hardworking citizens who love this community where we live, who want a way to participate in making it better.
That's so outstanding. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about On the Table. I'm excited about that.
Me too.
So talk a little bit about the concept. And did you go to the other communities? Did you go to any of those other
I've been to one of the other communities.
Talk a little bit how it went there, and then we could kind of segue into what's being done in Macon.
That's great. Well, it started in Chicago at the Chicago Community Trust, and they were approaching the 100th anniversary, and they really wanted to get a lot of input from the community about ways that they could continue to make their city and their community better. And so they had this idea of bringing all of these people together to have conversations over a meal, and then kind of quantify those ideas so that they could kind of get the people civically engaged and then have some action that can come out of it. And it was so successful that other communities have adopted it, and Knight Foundation has really been key in helping bring it to other communities. And so the Community Foundation is leading the initiative, but it wouldn't be possible without the generous support of the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. And Macon, Bibb County, is one of 10 communities that will have On the Table this year. It's our first year participating in it. But last year I got to go to Columbus, Georgia, which is a similar sized city as Macon. And my goal that day was to participate in as many different conversations as I could so that I could really get a feel for all the different ways that these conversations happen, what the topics are, what the residents were interested in. So I kind of went in with a table hopper mentality. And I went to one that was in a park. It was like a historic neighborhood association, and they had a park in their neighborhood, and they talked about kind of common concerns that you would associate with a neighborhood: safety, lighting, communication among neighbors, gentrification of their neighborhood. So that was one that I went to. I went to a coffee shop that was hosted, a conversation was hosted by their children's home in the area, and their whole conversation was based around foster care and the changes that are coming down the line as to how group homes will or won't be able to help these children. And they invited to their table, it was so fascinating, a foster parent, a DFACS worker, a foster child who's now an adult who had a positive experience in the foster care program, and then a foster child who's now an adult who did not have a positive experience. And for those of us that came into the conversation, we were really learning about what the challenges were in our community around foster care, and we were hearing it from the perspective of all of these different people who had been interested in it. So every conversation is as different as the location, the host, the topic, the food, but the common theme is that we're all going to come together to be more civically engaged and find ideas that we can take action on to move our community forward.
I think it's important to emphasize, and you can talk about this, that there are no necessarily regulations or rules, rigid guidelines, because I think it's important, and we want to make sure, being a part of the steering committee, that we want to make sure that it's not missed, that it's for everybody. You talked about the organization in the park. Well, you got dozens of neighborhood associations. That's what I thought about when you talked about that. So just talk about how everybody, any organization in the community, in a group, in a fraternity, in a sorority, in a church, any institution, because I think that the success of it hinges on the broadness, if you please, of the input.
Yes.
Let me tell you what frustrates me, Julie Woods. That oftentimes, watch me now, when an initiative comes up or when a problem comes up, or when something comes up that needs to be addressed in the community, then you got just the so-called leaders in the community. Mm-hmm. The who's who. Well, in my opinion, that only solves half of the problem. So talk about how On the Table can address the opportunity for everybody to have some input.
That's right. Well, the whole premise of On the Table is that everybody's voice matters. And we're going to have better ideas for our community and better data that we can use after the fact if everybody participates in the conversation. Even those people who sometimes might be a little intimidated to kind of step up in a leadership role, or someone who feels like they're not a traditional person who participates in community leadership.
Or somebody who thinks that their voice is not important,
right,
and does not matter. Go ahead. I just want to throw that in.
Every voice matters.
Yeah.
Every voice matters.
Yeah.
And so the idea is to keep these conversations small, generally 8 to 12 people, so that everybody feels like they can share their voice at the table. And a common thread of having conversation is over a meal, and so that's why it's kind of framed around mealtime or snack. Around a table. We're all sitting around the kitchen table and we're talking about issues that are important to us. And then when you collectively take all of that information and use that to move our community forward, that's where we're really going to see action. And if everybody feels like their voice has been heard, they're going to be more motivated to help implement ideas that come out of it.
Now, I think that you may need to emphasize mechanically that the object is to record the conversation. Because what you want to do, we'll talk about how the community, what's going to happen as a result of the conversation.
Yeah, well, at every conversation all around the county, each person will be given a postcard that they can write down 2 ideas that they came up with during their conversation. That's for them to keep. They can share them on social media if they want, but those are ideas that they think where they can personally take action to move our community forward. And the second part of the follow-up is that there's going to be a survey, an electronic survey that everybody who participates in any discussion will have access to, and we really hope everyone will fill it out. Matter of fact, we hope people fill it out at the end of their discussion at the table before they get up and leave the table. But all of that data is going to be aggregated together so that our community in early 2019 will have this information where they could drill down into whatever topic they're interested in, whatever zip code they're interested in, and find out collectively what the community thinks so that they can use that to help planning in the years ahead. So it's going to help inform the next plan for One Macon. It could be available to the Bibb County government. It could be available to any organization that wants to access the ideas and opinions of the community.
Yeah.
So it's
that potentially can be so effective until it's mind-boggling.
That's right.
Because as I said before, too often we are armchair quarterbacks, and we are not involved in the community. And then it really gives me goose pimples to think about how effective this can be if, in fact, we get people from all walks of life, though. Mm-hmm. That's important. And then, just encourage people with large or small organizations to participate.
Yes. So we've had lots of questions about what are the rules and what is the structure? What does my table have to look like? What type of food do I have to prepare? And what I've been telling people is it's so simple that it seems complex. You can gather just a group of friends or people that you already know. You can have a public table and invite people you don't know. You can provide donuts and coffee. You can provide a meal. You can provide a bottle of water. It's not really about the food. The conversation is there to help really drive our thoughts and our actions forward.
Okay, how can one find out more information about Onthetable?
Yes, we have a website. It's onthetable.macon.com. And if you want to host your own table, you can go and sign up there. Or if you just want to go to conversations throughout the day on October 17th, all of the tables that are open to the public will be listed there, and you can just RSVP for the ones you want to go to. So there will be some
public tables. You can just find a table to go to.
That's right. Just sign up and say you want to go and show up. So on the website in early October, they'll be listed by where the table is going to be hosted. You could look for one that's close to your home or your work, or by time of day. If you're free in the morning and want to go to breakfast, you can go to breakfast, or you could go to lunch or dinner or after work.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, now how can, is there a need for people to be involved in the initiative other than, I know we want them to sit at the table and participate and give their ideas, but is there any need for any logistical or organizational assistance from the community, any need for volunteers, anything of that nature?
Hosting a table is the most important way that somebody can help. And attending tables is important, and taking the survey, obviously, if you go to the conversations. But one of the best ways that you can kind of be an advocate for this is to tell other people what it's about. A lot of times the people who don't feel comfortable coming to a table or sharing their voice need that personal one-on-one encouragement for somebody to say, Alex, this really matters to me. I hope you'll come and do this. And when they have that encouragement, that's when we're going to get those diversity of opinions coming together, which is going to make the result all the better.
And then I think you need to really talk about a little, express to, everybody, particularly our organizations, oftentimes you got clubs and churches and fraternities and sororities who have the mission or the objective to be more involved in the community and to impact the community. Why don't you kind of encourage them to participate?
Yeah, certainly. Organizations are a great way, especially when they have connections to people already, and they can encourage their members to come out and support the tables that they're hosting. And it's also a way to get to know new people. I mean, if your church hosts a table, obviously members of your church can come, but if you make it public, you might get some neighbors that live nearby. And when those people come together, that's when you're really going to see the synergy of ideas take effect.
You know what comes to my mind? If in fact there's a church, let's say in South Macon, my church is in South Macon, Macedonia, well, then Macedonia could host an on the table, for the community, and then invite people from the community to come and talk about what they think could improve the community.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think that would be a phenomenon. Now, when is it?
October 17th, 2018, all day. So conversations are going to be going on all day long.
So anytime during that day, how much time are you suggesting that they spend on the table?
Typically an hour is a good recommendation. It can be, longer than that if people have more time to share. But, if you're thinking about, especially around meal times and people being able to participate in several conversations throughout the day, we're giving that as a general recommendation.
Okay, what if somebody wanted to, let's say an organization like a church, I like to talk about church, wanted to, have they could have their seniors ministry, and it doesn't have to be limited to 8 people. It could be 30 people.
That's right. You could be a super host and have 10 or more tables. Yeah. So if you want to fill up your fellowship hall, and October 17th this year is on a Wednesday. So if your church has Wednesday night programming and they want to use that Wednesday night to have these conversations, invite some neighbors in, that would be a great way to incorporate it into your church.
Yeah. Now what we want you to do is look at this video that will help to further explain on the table, and listen to some of the people who are endorsing on the table. But the most important thing is to participate. Give that website again.
What inspires or motivates you to be involved in the community and or your neighborhood? This is a good question. People, simple and plain. People is what inspires me to be connected to my community and connected to others. I recognize my success or my failure is based upon my brother and my sister. And who is my brother and sister? Everyone who I come in contact with.
The people are why I moved here to Macon and why it's been my home for 3+ years. So I think the people and doing the work that I do, it's really for the people of Macon-Bibb County.
If you only had $100 in one day, what would you do to strengthen our community? Invite a diverse group of people to lunch.
I guess I would donate it to a charity of my choice, help them give some grants to people starting some new initiatives or organizations here. But I guess that's what I would do, try to, put it in a larger pool.
I would buy up all of the copies of my favorite book and distribute them in our community so that we all have one common topic to talk about.
What do you say when you are bragging about Macon and Bibb County? What do we do well? How can we use these things to strengthen our community? When I'm bragging about Bibb County, the first thing that I always say is you will be surprised how many opportunities there are for all kinds of professions. I think the more people that we expose to great opportunities here, whether it's professional, the arts, education, I think that's a way we can strengthen our community, because we are not going to get stronger if we don't bring in new ideas from the outside.
When I'm bragging about our community, I think about the support that we get from the community. My belief is that they love us and they're continuing to be very supportive, especially of public education. What we continue to do well is find good teachers and good principals who work with our students every day, who are dedicated and have that as a passion. And how we can use those things to strengthen our community is to tell everybody our story, to continue to say that we're here for public education to create a future for our students.
You know, when I brag about Macon-Bibb County, I brag about the location, I brag about the weather, I brag about the services that Macon-Bibb County has amongst all the communities we have. We do so many things so well, and there are so many leaders in Macon-Bibb who do care and who are trying to make a big difference in this community. So that's what I brag about most.
What is one idea that you can take action on to move our community forward? One idea that I can take action on to move our community forward is to participate in the On the Table event, as well as just gathering people around in normal everyday conversation.
I think one idea that I can do to move our community forward is changing the perception of some of the residents downtown, especially the residents at the Dempsey.
I think it's important for us to have On the Table in Macon so our students, our teachers, and our principals can come together and talk with parents about what we can do to improve. My belief is that if we're able to improve communication with parents, they will come to understand what it is we're attempting to do. The people I would like to see at the table that the school system sponsors will be principals talking to students, and my hope is that by having several students at the table at the same time, they will find confidence and be able to share with their principal their true thoughts and feelings. I also hope that we'll have a conversation with parents so they can tell us what it is they absolutely would like to see us do. We're in the process of educating their children, and my belief is that once the parents tell us this is what we want, we'll be better able to deliver that to them as well. I think a big change can come from something as simple as a conversation, because once again, the more brains you have together, the more people who come together to discuss one topic that can be defined, that can be specific, allows us then to look for solutions to those problems. And so I think it all starts with the conversation. My belief is the world would be better today if we had more people willing to find common ground. And from my perspective, On the Table allows us that opportunity.
I think On the Table gives people the opportunity and the purpose of articulating concerns and having meaningful conversation about them so that we can move ahead, move beyond, and move past them. And I'm looking for anyone who is interested in making a positive difference in this community. And I'm looking for a diverse group, old, young, black, white, male, female. I think it would be good to have different opinions expressed around the table. It's not so much my voice that matters, it's your voice that matters. And that's the whole purpose of On the Table, as I understand it. Everything is on the table. Whatever you want to talk about is on the table. Whatever you think is a concern that's holding us back as a community, being able to have a meaningful conversation with someone who is willing and interested in listening to you about the problem that you're having is always the start of solving the problem.
On the Table is important because it gives members of the community an opportunity to sit down, give their ideas, feel involved, and then work together to make it a better community. One thing that I would like to do is to get the religious community more involved in these conversations. So I will be inviting people like from neighborhood associations and fraternities and sororities and entities that, have an express purpose of being concerned about the community but have not had the opportunity to really be involved. In order to really accomplish things, people got to have buy-in. And in order for them to have buy-in, or in order for them to buy into what's going on, they feel like they need to be a part of it. They need to participate. They need to think that, what I say is important. They need to feel like somebody is listening to them. So the mere fact that people will have an opportunity to express their feelings about our community, I think will be measurably beneficial. So I think it's a great idea, and I'm looking so forward to it.
It's not always easy to find a table or make time to sit at the table or have the courage to come to the table. So here's your chance to set the table. On the Table encourages you to talk about topics relevant to local residents. Then take what you learn from each other and create solutions that use our talents and ideas together. On Wednesday, October 17th, put your voice on the table and engage in this day of community-wide conversation. Be among those who set the table for positive change by serving as a host, where you coordinate the invitations, time, place, and public or private setting. Your table can be anywhere, in a residence, restaurant, community center, place of worship, park, library, or around a water cooler. It can be coffee, going Dutch, or simply bringing a sack lunch. Food is optional. This is for our thoughts, where conversations flow and ideas emerge from each other. Interested? Go to onthetable.macon.com. Already know you want to be a host? Learn more at onthetable.macon.com. Want to host 10 or more tables? Be a super host. Learn more at onthetable.macon.com. Your voice matters. All of our voices matter. On the Table, all day, October 17th, 2018. On the Table is spearheaded by the Community Foundation of Central Georgia, made possible with generous funding from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation.
Give that website again.
onthetable.macon.com.
Okay. On the Table, October the 17th, throughout Central Georgia. We want you to participate. If you have a question, you can call Julie at what number?
478-750-9338.
Not only will we see you on the table, we'll see you at the table. Be there. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Miss Julie Wood, encouraging everybody to participate on and in and at On the Table. Have a great day.
On the Table encourages you to talk about